Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to our cozy little corner of the internet. Today I'll be reading chapter 3 of Turning Tide by Pretty Bean. I hope you guys enjoy and let's get right into the fic. Chapter 3 When Everything Crashed. 1 month prior. Knock knock. Who is it? Chuya called out to the knocks on his office door. It's me, lad, Koyo said. Ah, come in, Chuya said, getting up and walking closer to the door to greet her. Is there something you need, Annie-san? Chuya asked, smiling at the older woman. No, it's nothing I need, but the boss is calling for you, she stated, giving a very slightly concerned look to the boy. Oh, thank you for letting me know. I'll head up. Bye, Annie-san, Chuya said, walking out of the door, flashing a reassuring smile on his face. Koyo stepped out of his room, pulling the door shut behind her. She didn't know why, but for once she felt uneasy. Chuya arrived on the top floor of the Port Mafia, walking towards the door of Mori's office. The guard nodded at him as he walked by. Chuya followed them with a nod of his own before knocking on the door. Ah, Chuya-kun, come in. Chuya stepped into the office, seeing Mori sitting at his desk, a sickening grin on his face. Chuya took a breath before walking further into the room before kneeling. Koyo said, You called for me, boss? Chuya said, keeping his gaze fixed to the ground. Ah, yes, I did indeed. If you could please stand, Chuya. Chuya rose to his feet rather quickly, replacing his hat on his head. As for the reason I called you here, well, I have a very important task for you. His smile, if you could even call it that, continued to grow. Anything you request of me, I'll do, Chuya said, giving a slight bow to the man ahead of him. Good. Good. You know that's why I'm trusting you with this job. Mori's grin grew even bigger. You're the most loyal member after all. Who could lead people better? Mori laughed. Lead the people? I apologize, I don't follow, Chuya said, trying to keep his tone and look as professional as possible. He'll be the next Port Mafia boss. Ah, don't worry, you won't be alone. Chuya's eyes opened wide in shock. Boss? Chuya almost whispered, his voice almost shaking. As I said, you won't be alone. You'll have, well, that part is not important yet, but you'll have a right-hand man, Mori said, looking at Chuya with a sickening face. Chuya took a deep breath to steady himself before speaking. Who might my right-hand man be? Your dear brother, of course. Who else would be more fit? Mori's face evened out to what seemed like a smirk compared to his previous grin. I see, Chuya paused. Thank you for this opportunity. Chuya did a slight nod, waiting for Mori to continue. Here, Mori opened one of the drawers of his desk, pulling out a key and tossing it to Chuya. That's the key to where he's at. Go and tell him about this and bring him up. I'll explain more then, Mori said, gesturing for Chuya to go on. Chuya quickly bowed before turning and heading out of the room. Once Chuya left Mori's office, he let out a breath he wasn't aware he was holding. He stood there for a bit, taking in everything that he had been told. He didn't stand there for long though, knowing Mori wouldn't be happy if he took too long. Chuya collected himself and walked towards the elevator and headed down to where Valérine was staying. Knock knock. Chuya hesitated before opening the door. Valérine? He called out. Chuya felt a bit awkward, not having seen the man for quite a few years. Valérine turned towards the door. Chuya? Oh, what a surprise. What's with the visit? Valérine said, smiling at Chuya. Well, boss told me he had some things that relate to both of us. He wanted me to come grab you before he explained more, Chuya said, looking away from Valérine. Mori wants something from the both of us. That can't be good. Valorine walked closer to Chuya, putting a hand onto his shoulder. Chuya's head snapped up. No matter what he does, I promise I'll be with you every step of the way. Can you tell me some more what he told you? Valorine asked Chuya, the hand retracting from his shoulder. Yeah, basically he wants me to become the new Port Mafia boss and you to be my right-hand man. But I think there's something more to it. He was grinning way too much for my liking, Chuya said, crossing his arms near the end. That's sick, man. You can never tell what he's thinking or planning, Valorine said, letting out a sigh. I'd love to say chat more, but I think Mori wouldn't be the happiest if we took long, Chuya said, starting to turn and walk towards the door, hoping Valorine would follow him. Let's go then, Valorine replied, following Chuya out of the door and back towards Mori's office. It's been quite a while since I've been to his office, Valorine said as I stepped off the elevator. Not much has changed, I can tell you that, Chuya said, shrugging his shoulders as he continued to walk down the hallway. Yeah, figured as much. The pair reached the door. Do you want to go in first or me? Valorine said, looking over at Chuya with a slight smile. I'll go in first, Chuya said, smiling back at him before knocking on the door. Knock, knock. Come in, you two. Mori spoke through the door. Chuya pushed the door open, Valorine following behind him. Chuya and Valorine walked further into the office, kneeling down in front of Mori. Welcome back, Chuya, and welcome, Valorine. The two gave slight nods. You two can stand. Both of them rose, Chuya replacing his hat on top of his head. Chuya told me you had a job for us, Valorine said, looking at Mori to see what information he could get out of him. Yes, I'm sure he told you some of it, no? I won't repeat it, so let's get to business, yes? As you both know, the Mafia is very busy, Mori said, a grin beginning to grow on his face. Chuya simply nodded while Valorine stood still, waiting for Mori to continue. Chuya will become the boss, and you, Mori gestured over to Valorine, will be his right-hand man. Any questions so far? Mori said, suspecting that at least Valorine would have something to say, not being as loyal to the Mafia as Chuya. I have one, if you don't mind. Valorine paused, continuing after receiving a nod from Mori. Why is it that the Mafia needs a new boss? I was unaware that something was happening to you. Valorine looked Mori in the eyes. Seeing him hiding how large he would like his grin to be. Well, I just think it's time for a change, is it not? Mori said, smiling over towards Chuya. Chuya figured Mori wanted to talk to him, but boss, you only rose to power 7 years ago. Chuya was confused. Mori killed the previous boss to get this position, and now he was just giving it to Chuya? Did it even work that way? Could Mori even do that? I understand your confusion, but don't worry. All will make sense in due time. Mori stood up from his desk, walking over to where Valorine and Chuya were. Mori reached up to his neck, taking his scarf off, placing it around Chuya's shoulders. See, it fits you perfectly, Mori said, clasping his hands together. Chuya simply nodded back to Mori, glad when Valorine took over the conversation. And where will you be going? Surely you can't give over your position. Valorine moved closer to Chuya to help calm him some. You sure have a great question, don't you, Valorine? Mori gave a slight glance to Valorine for a slight second before he re-broke into a grin. I think you need to learn that you may be Chuya's right-hand man, but you have no power here. Mori continued to grin. As his right-hand man, would I not have power? Valorine said, glaring at Mori. Chuya looked over to Valorine, his eyes slightly opening in shock in the way Valorine was talking to Mori. Mori's grin dropped. He walked over to Valorine, grabbed him by the arm, and whispered in his ears. You nor Chuya have any authority in this room. Got that? I could kill you at any moment I please. Mori let Valorine go, taking a step back. Any further questions? He said, his grin returning to his face. Chuya shook his head quickly, not wanting to be as far away from Mori as possible. Great, now, come along, Mori said, walking towards a room to the side of his office. Chuya was unaware that there was even a room to the side of his office. When they stepped in, Chuya only saw a single object in the room. A bed sat in the middle of the room. It had white sheets and a closed black curtain around it. What's this? Chuya spoke up, confused about where Mori was taking them and for what purpose. This is the place where I'll, die, much like the previous boss. Mori grinned at Chuya. I'm sorry, boss. I don't think I could kill you. You're my boss, Chuya said, trying to understand just what Mori was thinking. What was this man trying to do? Mori turned to Chuya. Don't worry, Chuya. You won't have to do much. Mori walked to the other side of the room where there was a small table, one that Chuya had missed when they first walked into the room. Once at the table, Mori grabs a cup of who knows what and a bottle of some mysterious liquid. Mori walked back over to Chuya, handing him the bottle. This is for? Chuya asked, looking up at Mori. Mori simply held out the cup. Take the lid off and pour it into the cup, will you? Mori's grin continued to grow even wider. Valorine stood slightly to the side, watching all this happen. He began to gain a clue of what Mori was trying to do and what his plan was. Chuya took a breath, listening to what Mori had told him, and opened the bottle, turning it to its side and dumped the contents in the cup. Once the bottle was empty, Chuya replaced the lid on the bottle. Great, thank you. Mori looked towards Chuya, a sick grin on his face, before taking a cup to his lips, drinking the contents of the bottle. Chuya was shocked. Boss, what is it that you just took? Chuya was confused on why Mori would be drinking the contents of a seemingly random bottle. Next thing Chuya knew, Mori had collapsed to the ground. Boss! Chuya panicked, dropping the bottle he was still holding to the floor, running over to Mori. Valorine reached down and grabbed the bottle that Chuya had dropped. It was unlabeled, but whatever it was had a very quick effect. Valorine, I can feel a pulse. Chuya looked over his shoulder towards Valorine. Valorine rushed over, the two of them lifting Mori to the bed. A few hours later. Mori's pulse had slowed down extremely within the hour. Chuya tracked Koyo down as fast as possible, but by the time they got back, he was already gone. Valorine walked over to the table Mori had set the cup on before, seeing the letter sitting on it. Koyo-san? Valorine said, turning towards Chuya and Koyo. She gave him a hum to let him know she was listening. This letter is for you. Valorine handed the letter over to Koyo. She began to read the letter out loud. Dear Koyo, if you're reading this, I have unfortunately passed. Don't worry, everything will go smoothly. Here is what you'll do. Keep a low profile for a bit. The new boss shall be Chuya, with Valorine as his right-hand man. For the rest, well, they'll know what to do. Mori. So he is really dead, Chuya said, looking at Koyo in still in disbelief at everything that had just happened. What was the cause, though? Koya said, looking at Valorine, figuring he might have some idea. Not entirely sure. Let me look into it some more, Valorine said, walking around the room looking for any more clues. We should inform the others, lad. Do you want to come with me? Koyo said, looking at the younger boy, still in a state of shock. Yeah, I'll come along with you, he said, walking out of the room with Koyo leaving just Valorine in the room. 2 days later. Mori's body had yet to move since they were still trying to figure out his cause of death. Valorine, Chuya, Koyo and Hirotsu were sitting in what used to be Mori's office. Valorine, do you have any ideas what the cause of death might be? Koyo asked him, still slightly wary of him. Poison, but that's all that I've got. What kind? Can't say. It's not one I'm familiar with, that's for sure, he said, looking towards Chuya. What should we do going forward, Chuya? Chuya looked up towards Valorine. Well, I suppose we should just try our best to keep everything with the Mafia in order. I know us three, he gestured towards himself, Koyo and Hirotsu. Experience a change of boss, it can be kind of insane, he said, holding back a sigh. Koyo placed a hand on Chuya's shoulder. While it was quite insane, you have the support of many of the Mafia's members already, something Mori didn't, she said, smiling at Chuya. She's got a point, kid. If anyone has a good shot at leading the Mafia, it's you, Hirotsu said. If you'll excuse me, boss, I have some work to attend to. Chuya nodded at him. Hirotsu stood and walked towards the door, leaving. Hirotsu has a point, Koya said, standing up to leave as well. We have plenty to work on. Remember, lad, if you ever need anything, we are all a call away. She smiled at Chuya, reaching down to give him a hug before leaving the room. Once the door was shut behind her, Chuya let out a sigh. How are we supposed to do this? Chuya said, talking to no one, really, even though Valorine was in the room. You two were told you wouldn't be alone, weren't you? A voice called out from the other side of the room. Who? Valorine turned around only to be stopped in his tracks. Chuya sat there frozen in place. How? Is all Chuya could say, his eyes blown wide. I was sure you... Chuya could barely think. What had happened? How did any of this make sense? Shh, no need to panic. Everything will come together in the end, won't it? The voice broke into a grin. Valorine spoke up. You were dead. I know that for a fact you were. So how? I want an answer. Valorine was puzzled. None of this made sense at all. Well, that bottle... Let's just say there was a bigger picture. Now, we have work to do, don't we? You should listen to your elders, Chuya. Get to work. He set his papers down on the desk, walking back towards the room where he came from. Well, you heard him. Let's get to work. Chuya walked over to the desk, starting to look at the papers. 3 weeks later. Knock. Chuya-san. Octogawa walked into his office behind his sister, Gin, trailing behind. You called for us? Yes, I did. Thank you for coming, Chuya said with a smile on his face. The Octogawas bowed as Chuya continued. You two can stand. You don't need to bow for me. It's kind of embarrassing anyway. Anyways, I got a letter I need you two to deliver to the Armed Detective Agency, if you wouldn't mind. Of course not. We'll do whatever you need to do. Whatever you need, we will do, Octogawa said, walking towards Chuya to grab the letter. Amazing. Thank you. You two are dismissed, Chuya said, giving one last smile to the siblings before they turned and walked out of the office. Good. Everything's going according to plan. Okay, everyone. That was Chapter 3 of Turning Tide by Pretty Bean. I hope you guys enjoyed. That gave you a little bit more insight onto what happened in the Port Mafia and how Mori actually died. Well, not really died, he came back to life, but you know, some days of our lives shit happens like that. Yeah. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy. I'm going to try to crank out a few more videos for today. I'll try to get another 2 out. Who knows, honestly. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you all guys later. Make sure to take care of yourself. Bye.